Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today, closing out the final wave of Legacy Evolution, which is actually like wave 7 of Legacy overall, but this is like wave 4. We are looking at core class Dinobot Snarl, and outside of the Voyager Trashmaster is the only new mold in this wave. Everything else are either straight repaints or repaint retools of pre-existing figures or figures that haven't been released yet. Yeah. But besides being a new mold, Snarl here is the final component to the Volcanicus combiner, which of course we will take a look at. We're starting off in Stegosaurus mode, and very nice, very cool looking. Um, I will say, much like Swoop, Snarl does actually have a nice splash of color here with the red that really breaks up the monotony of the gray. There's also silver here, which really does stand out because I mean, outside of Slug, there's really not much there. But as you'll see in the combined mode, it's really not showing. Um, Snarl also has something else. He comes with a weapon, his itty bitty sword, which I guess is kind of to scale to the figure. I would say outside of the arm bots, which would Swoop and Scar, this is really the only Dinobot that came with a weapon that looks like a weapon. You know, Slug didn't come with anything, and Slag and Grimlock, they're sort of their tail pieces were weaponish, but they were really just extra components to fill out the combiner. But gonna now you can peg it here in the top, but this is actually for combined mode, and so it's really meant to go down here. Kind of a little tight fit down there, just so you know. And you want to make sure when you peg it in, you angle it that it doesn't, the tip doesn't scrape down. But we'll put that off to the side. So there's really no articulation in robot mode. The back legs, which are the robot mode arms, are actually pegged into the side, and these front legs are surprisingly molded in. One other thing I should mention is this red section, which is the back plate, that's a separate piece. And it is removable because it does move around when going from the robot to combiner limb. So if you lose this piece, you're basically going to have a very odd looking Stegosaurus. It's not noticeable that much in robot mode because it's the back plate, but you'll have an incomplete limb for the combiner mode, which I don't think will be able to stand. So to start the transformation, what I like to do is you want to come in the front here, fold this in half like that. That will free the front half of the dinosaur, which will be the legs, from the tab section here on the back. Now, by the way, if you're familiar with the Studio Series 86 version of Snarl, this transformation is very familiar, right down to having this back section removable. Uh, what you then want to do is go ahead and flip the legs out about 90 degrees. Very tight friction in there. It's like the first time I did this, I really had to push it down to get it to fold over, but it does. So and let me just make this clear, like the dinosaur mode, the Stegosaurus, everything holds together very well. It's the best feeling of the core Dinobots. Go ahead, flip the head halves into the leg, just like so. Straighten the legs out. Next, what you can do is bring the arms down and unpeg them from the side. And let me just tell you right now, pegging the arms into the side is probably the hardest step of the transformation. First of all, the instructions tell you to fold the arm up. I wouldn't, just to have a little bit of something more to hold in your hand. You got to like push, angle, and push up and in to get it to peg. So yeah, so there's that. And finally, go ahead and split the tail, and you want to push it back as far as you can, and then rotate the head around. And there's Snarl in its robot mode. Let's go ahead, add the sword. Like all the core weapons, it does have that 3 millimeter to 5 millimeter tapering peg. This actually looks pretty good. Like it's like you have an extra hand guard there. Although I don't see why you would give this to a larger figure, since I mean, as it is with him with Snarl here, it looks like like a short sword, and on larger figures, it'll look like a butter knife. The other thing I want to mention is clearly there's a little space here for an Autobot logo, and I kind of think there is supposed to be one there. I don't know why they didn't work that in. Now, in terms of articulation, Snarl is up there with Swoop as probably one of the most articulated of the Dinobots. Ball joint at the hips, swivel here, um, ball joint at the shoulders, over 90-degree elbow, head rotation. So this is actually a really, I mean, with the unfortunately the feet aren't molded at that uh like that slight angle so you can have an A stance, but you can get some posing out of the figure, and I kind of do appreciate that. You know, if you fool around with it enough. So, yeah, this is a really nice figure. And I mean, this is to save this for the last. It's going at least as terms as a standalone figure. It's going out on a high point. Now, let's go ahead and get into the combined mode. The instructions will show you to go from Stegosaurus mode. Personally, um, I think it's easier to do from the robot mode. So what you want to do is do a partial transformation, turn the head around, close up the tail, come back here, going to remove the oop, going to remove the back plate here. Um, Flip that little peg up, bring the legs together just for now, and you're going to bring these arms in. And what's nice is they're going to sort, you want to like angle, use the ball joint to angle them so the shoulders can sit together. But at the same time, you're going to bring the forearms together. And there are tabs on the forearm. They're going to peg into a spot right above the crotch. That actually snaps in quite nicely. So you have all that done. Now, what we're going to do is bend the legs backwards. Now, instead of going for the full transformation, you're going to bend them back with the hip, and the two tabs here are actually now going to go into slots that were covered by the panel. So we just go like that, and there you go. The final step is going to be, and oh, and by the way, I should mention, when putting the panel on, either for the robot mode or for this combined mode, these tabs always face down. The first thing you want to do is maybe grab the sword here. You want to peg it into the back, that slot on the back there with the blade facing up. There are two posts there on the forearms, and just like that, you peg it in like that, and there's your combined limb. So, uh, yeah, I think right now it's about time to combine the figure and take a look at the full Volcanicus. Okay, so here we go. Here's Snarl, here's the rest of Volcanicus, and here we go. You guys ready? You sure you're ready? If you need a moment, just, pause the video, get ready, get your excitement meter up. We're going to do this. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should save this as a subscriber exclusive or a Patreon exclusive, the actual combining of Volcanicus. Yeah, that'll be a way for me to get like negative patrons. I already have zero. I'd have less than zero. No, I'm just joking around. Let's just go ahead. Oh, and one thing you can notice now from the inside here is this figure does have the slots that Grimlock did in terms of having allowing for the space of the the paneling from the sludge. So just go ahead. Let's get this guy in, peg it in just like so. Tight fit, and there we go. And without further ado, there is the completed Volcanicus. And yeah, you have a lot here going on. First of all, uh, you can see Snarl is a little bit longer as a foot than Grimlock, but Grimlock has a longer heel. As I mentioned, let me move Swoop out of the way here. You do have that. Well, actually, that really doesn't affect it much, but the knee can bend. Grimlock here, it has that. Oh, that bit right there. Oh, geez, that's separated. Oh, good. I don't know how that happened, but it has that bit where it can that gapping. I mean, I guess. Well, I mean, I don't think you really can switch the legs. Let me just adjust the camera a little. But now, I mean, it looks nice, but I gotta say, it's a little underwhelming. Number one, I think this took a little too long to complete. I think this should have been done in like two waves, not four. But in terms of overall articulation, you know, uh, the arms are basically you're at the will of these the connector joints. So you have that in and out movement, and it can rotate. In terms of elbows, you have that, so it can go inward. That's about all. You can't rotate anything to give it proper elbows because the fists can't rotate. So there's that. So I mean, it is kind of indicative of a 1980s style combiner. There's a lot of articulation here below the waist. First of all, oh yeah, you do have a waist swivel. You do have uh, the ball joint, like not a ball joint, but a faux ratchet here at the hip. You have the aforementioned knee articulation, but because you really can't pivot the hips uh, around, I'm sorry, not the hips, but the ankles, you're very limited to what you can do. And I keep hitting the Grimlock here, so I mean, let's see if I can do some sort of action pose. Also, having um, Volcanicus completely combined, it kind of does say to me that uh, in terms of the head is like a little too small for the body. I mean, it is getting lost in the arms there. So there's that. But I mean, this is about as good as I can do. And some photos have shown it. So let me show you right now with Snarl's sword. Yes, Volcanicus can hold it. That's that's like if Volcanicus was going to cut a steak. That's just no, that's not working. That's not working at all. So I'm sorry. There are add-on sets. There are add-on sets for every member of this team that will give them proper weapons and what have you. There's an add-on set that will give the figure uh, the swords from that look like the Japanese set. But if you're just buying the retail figures, this is what you get. So yeah, that's about it. Um, really not much more to say. Um, so I think I will just pause and I'll give you my final thoughts. Originally, I had said online that I felt Snarl was the best of the core Dinobots, and then somebody reminded me about Swoop. So what I will do is um, adjust my statement, put a little addendum. I'm going to say Snarl is on the same level as Swoop and Scar in terms of quality figure. The accessory is fun. It actually looks like a weapon and functions as one. even though in that regard, I think only Swoops is equal to that because the hand splits to be the two blasters. But articulation wise, it's there. I mean, it's there. I mean, this is about as articulated as a larger robot. I think really all you're missing is some ankle pivot. But as a standalone figure, it's great, and I definitely think it's worth a purchase. I really like how they took that Studio Series 86 transformation and shrunk it down to the core class. Yep, that's right. You get a final thought twofer. How about them, Apple? Since we're talking about Snarl and Volcanicus, I only thought it was fair. Now, while Snarl is great, Volcanicus, I'm just very underwhelmed by. Um, I think when we had Slag and Sludge, the way they combined, the way they came together to form that torso was great engineering and rather ingenious. Yes, Sludge looks terrible as a standalone figure, but once you combined it with Slag, you you got it. You understood why that had to be. But since then, adding on the limbs, it's just basically been plugging chunk of plastic into chunk of plastic. And that, of course, you end up with like the dull gray look, with the only exception being Snarl, who, I mean, looks like, besides Swoop, like the most painted and polished member of the team, and it sticks out. Um, and I don't know really how to avoid that, but I mean, there is little red accents here in the torso, but the articulation, like I said, is really all from the waist down. You have the swivel, the hips, the knees, but the fact that there's no way to like ankle the what will be like the lower legs and feet kind of is a bit limiting. Um, Obviously, we know without really knowing that this set was a pre-release, or really the repaint retool released first, of what will be Moonstructor and Dino King. Now, I don't know. I know we've heard rumored listings. One's going to be a Generation Selects release. One is going to be a Target exclusive. I don't remember which one is which. I don't know if that means we're going to get like premium editions, like actual weapons for the individual robots, some way to put feet on the figure, maybe some alterations to the molds to give us proper articulation. At the very least, I think we can expect new heads for the figures and a new head for the combiner. But I'll say it right now, whoever's going to come first, that'll probably be it, because at least it'll come as a gift set. I'm not interested in getting like this whole set more than one more time. Uh, it's just not that interesting. So if you weren't sold on Volcanicus, if you weren't sold on the gimmick of the Dinobots as a combiner, as I said in the beginning, Snarl, Swoop, and Scar, the leg and the two arms, are the best of the core figures. They stand alone as great individual robots. They have proper weapons, the transformations are fun, and they just stand out looking really cool. The other three, you really only pick up and really would need just if you want to complete the combiner. Now, speaking on that, I really don't know if anybody has seen all of the core Dinobots at retail at once. And I shouldn't say, I don't want to say at once, but like as the waves were released. I mean, some people have said some stores have skipped waves. They only got part of a wave. So let me know in the comments if you have seen, even if you're not buying them, each of the previous five Dinobots. Now, Snarl really hasn't hit retail yet. Um, I got it from Command Store. Uh, it should be shipping from Hasbro Pulse next week. This is September 12th, so I say like September 18th. And Amazon, it can ship between anywhere between now or the beginning of October, which was the delivery date. But they've been pushing stuff up, so who knows? But with all that, so there's that. And really, with that being said, those will be your options in terms of getting Snarl, um, because main retail like Target, Walmart seems to have been like a little bit behind in some cases. But who knows? I mean, I could see a report tomorrow that it's showing up in Targets. Regardless, if you've already, I mean, that's really all I can say about Volcanicus. It's a nice figure, but don't expect like Combiner Wars style of fun out of it. I will say this though, because of the limited articulation, I don't expect this to turn into floppy, droopy messes like a lot of those Combiner Wars figures did, with like the hips and the how the limbs were all like the arms were basically the elbow articulation was all from the knees and the hips, and the main figure was like they have ratchets in the hips, but there was just enough give between the teeth of the ratchet, so you would have that Combiner Wars lean. That I don't see that happening with Volcanicus. Some of the joints might loosen up over time, but I really don't see this becoming a floppy mess because most of the points are just solid, straight pieces of plastic. So I hope I've given you enough information to make a decision. Um, if you had already started off buying the core Dinobots, and you maybe you got to the point that I did where you got Grimlock and you were starting to realize this isn't going to be pretty, but you wanted to just see it through. I understand, and I think if you do, you'll be happy-ish. But that's about it for the review. If you like this review, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. While I will always appreciate the views, the likes, comments, and subscriptions help to communicate to YouTube through the algorithms that my channel should be exalted and held upon high. If you want to make the ultimate sign of support, I do have a Patreon. You heard about it. www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. All I ask for is $1 a month, $12 a year. You know the spiel. What I really would appreciate if you guys take the time to share my video around on social media, your Facebook groups, bulletin boards, other forums on websites. Um, Guys like me have to compete with the guys who basically get these figures hot off the conveyor belt. And unfortunately, a lot of people, once they see a review of the figure, that's it. They're not interested in seeing any more of them. So it makes it very hard to get my videos out when a figure, to most uh, Transformer sites has been covered like 3 months, 4 months ago. And as I always say, a lot can change between that first review and getting it in hand. And that's what I like to do here is like I get it in hand, open it from the box, and to present to you what you'll get, hopefully will experience, good or bad, from buying it from a store or an online retailer. But so I really would appreciate all the help you got had. You guys have been with me for over 10 years, and I'm looking for another 10 years of fun, laughs, and just incessant ramblings. Well, that's about it for the review. This is your old pal Chuck. For Snarl and Volcanicus, we will see you next time.